liaison for the VOA, which is also the VSC, and that means I'm also the scapegoat, and they're here to make sure I don't mess up. If I do, they just take me out in the parking
All
lot.
right. So call me and we'll figure out a plan. Get you out of here.
So Jim, what do you do for
Escape Lane Delta.
Jim, what do you do from 8 to 5? Jim.
What do I do for what?
8 to 5
Nothing. No, I run a CPA practice.
here in Coppell?
There's an address here in Coppell, but most of the material
All right, 6:05, February 26, 2025, the meeting of the Building and Standards Commission. The meeting's called in order. Roll call and work session is going to take place in council workroom. It's open to the public right now. Just please understand that council will not entertain any feedback from the public. You can come in and watch if you'd like. Thank you.
To meet our codes, the door from his garage to his backyard has a barrier and his dog can't get out. So.
Okay. Now we're back into roll call of members present. As your name is called, please respond with the notification of present. Michelle Anderson. Kyle Rogers.
Here.
Casey Smith.
Present.
Greg Vlahos.
Here.
Vinay Gudor. Sean Hester. Do Kim. Timothy Thompson.
Present.
And I'm Mark LeGros. All right. So the first order of business is to begin work session as identified in item 2 of the agenda. This open to the public for observation only. Please be aware that interaction with commissioners and staff members is not legally authorized. I will turn over the work session now to Stephen Schubert, Chief Building Official. Steve, would you identify the staff members present and then lead the discussion, if you please?
Thank you, John LaRose. We actually have a star-studded crew here tonight. We have, starting over here, we have Luis Orejil, who is one of the assistant directors to our department. We have Vandana, who is our secretary. We have Matt Steer, who is another leader in our department. We've got Desiree, who is our senior code officer. And we have 2 more code officers over here. We have Rachel and Corey.
Where's Tim?
Oh, yeah. Tim was here, our chief, fire chief. I think he ran away. He's hiding.
He's taking care of some business.
Tonight, Desiree will be presenting you guys with the 2 code cases, and I'll be doing the presentation for the code adoption.
Okay.
All right, so just to recap, 407 Greenway, on December 5th of 2024, the commission issued an order for repair, for all repairs to be done by April 4th of 2025. We had created a timeline within that order, and so this show cause hearing is going to be for the items that were listed in the 30 days that need to be completed. Mr. Keenan has completed majority of those items. He did complete the roof repairs. He's replaced the roof decking, also treated for the pests, ants, roaches, and rodents. He has applied for and got the alteration permit or the remodel permit. It was issued today. The remaining items that he still needs to do is sealing the exterior openings, prevent any unwanted persons or rodents from entering the home. And he did attempt to secure the fence, but it is still able to open due to the location of the lock. So he is going to work on getting that fixed. So staff is going to be asking that we continue with the original order that we had from back in December and move on to the 60-day timeline, which is for him to start the interior repairs. And also, I'm sorry, I forgot the pool. The pool was cleaned and drained, yes.
Thank you. All right.
And then the next case that, oh, I'm sorry, did y'all have any questions?
For anything that didn't make the 30-day, in the order, was it may or shall take action? We do have the option to roll that.
Yeah, so we can continue with the order. So the deadline for everything would be April 4th.
Okay.
If he
That
doesn't
hasn't
complete
changed.
that.
Just making
That
sure.
hasn't
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah,
So
make
what
sure
we're-
what our flexibility is based on the 30-day show cause.
Yeah, so we're gonna have another show cause hearing, and then we'll look and see where we're at, and you guys can amend the order from there.
Yeah, or if everything's getting completed, then we can repeal the order.
All right.
Any questions?
No, I think that's it. Anything else on our work session?
I have one more case that we'll be having. Sorry, I just, So we'll be having a new case. It's 433 Willow Springs Drive. You guys will be hearing this case to see if the fence is substandard on the property. So we've had this case open since June of 2023. We've sent numerous notices to the property owner and the longtime resident there. Notices were posted, mailed, emailed, and hand-delivered. Unfortunately, no action was taken, so we filed with the municipal court, had them summoned to court, but they did not appear to court. So that's why we're here tonight. We'll be seeking an order to remove that fence from the property.
Okay.
Any questions for that?
Good with that?
And then we'll be going into the building code adoption. Both of us do have PowerPoint presentations that we'll be providing during the open session. I'm trying to keep my portion of it short. As I was speaking of earlier, the building codes are over 11,000 pages. We're not going to go page by page on the changes in the codes. But I did try to keep the building code adoptions a bare bone minimum. The North Texas Council of Government, who usually provides what they think is a good recommendation for amending the codes so that all municipalities are kind of on the same page. They haven't even finished the 2024 codes yet. They're not even out yet. I did take a look at what they had recommended for the 2021s, as well as our fire marshal took a look at the 2021s and kind of transferred those into what we're going to be adopting for the 2024s. And also I took some sections of our ordinances and kind of consolidated them into a construction chapter to start out everything to help identify our requirements and expectations for contractors, job sites, stuff like that. So that when somebody pulls a permit for construction here in the city, they know what our expectations are for maintaining their job sites, for their registrations, their allowable work hours. It's all in one location. It's a whole lot easier for them to reference than having it in multiple different sections of the ordinance. It also makes it easier for us to simply attach as a PDF to all the permits that go out, so their approved city plans will have that information on them.
Good.
Quick clarification. You said the COG normally recommends or rolls it out to all the municipalities in their region, but they have still not finished the 2021?
The 2024s, so reference the 2021.
Sure, but if NetCog hadn't put those out yet, we're doing our own kind of thing?
So a good example is looking at the 2021s. Part of the North Texas Council of Governments, it's municipalities, it's architects, it's general contractors, some of our manufacturers. These are the people that make up COG. They go through and they create their list for adoption. Cities such as Plano and Frisco are always part of COG. They always have been, ever since I got in the construction industry more than 30 years ago. And comparing the 2021s to what Frisco has for their building codes, less than 50% of COG's recommendations are part of their building codes, even though they were part of the body that helped draw them out. They are variations on a theme. They're consistent all the way through. Some sections reference, well, we're going to do this simply because it was part of the legacy codes. Well, legacy codes go back to the Southern Standard Code, which has not been around in 50 years. And I am not comfortable with going below what is written in the building codes simply because, well, that's the way we've always been doing it. I don't think that that's a valid reason, so we wouldn't adopt that anyway. Consistently over the past decade that I've been on this side of things, it's very, very rare I'll adopt anything that COG has recommended simply because a lot of times I disagree with their logic, I disagree with their reasoning.
Gotcha. And so our responsibility as the board is to hear recommendations from staff and either accept, or are there pieces, I don't know what our, might be a question in this direction, what's our involvement if we're like, yeah, that one, he says he wants every construction site to have 7 Mylar balloons. I think that's weird. You know, like if there's something that just really stands out and we're like, I'd rather
Well,
not.
that's the reason you guys exist.
Right, I'm like, is that where we call out one by one kind of thing?
Yeah, well, so a lot of the things that are in the construction chapter and expectations, they're already in there. They're just copied and pasted from a different section into one set. So I have not created something that wasn't already there for the most part. Things I have added are items such as no storing construction materials out in the city's right of way, which already exists. Somebody puts materials out in the city's right of way, we can send code, PD, fire, anybody out there to get them to move it, because they legally can't. Now it's written out in written word, quick and easy reference. Our allowable work hours are written out a different section of ordinance. Well, now it's going to be in with our construction codes.
You should think about the balloon thing though.
I
I
thought
think
not.
minimum size of the Mylar.
So from a personal experience, I don't know who would have the authority to do this. So we just built out a new office space, and the new electrical code had some really obnoxious energy saving things that cost a lot of money and are not very functional, like allocating duplex plugs 50% have to be on a motion sensor, where you're like, what would I ever plug in to the wall that needs to be on a motion sensor other than a lamp?
Luminaires.
So it was a pretty big hindrance. Would that be up to us? He's not here.
Right.
Or is that like the city council or?
So
I don't know.
no matter what, we can't go less restrictive than code. If the code says that, let's say, a wall insulation,
Yeah.
you have to have R29 wall insulation.
Yeah.
And we decide, well, there's no way to get R29 in a 2x4 exterior wall. You're looking like 2x8 exterior wall to fit R29 in there. We want to reduce it. Well, you can't, because that's already been adopted by the state.
Okay.
And we can't be less restrictive than the state. And the state may be on an older code cycle, but the values are still existent in there. The energy codes are forever evolving, forever getting more restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's gonna be stuff like that that's gonna be coming down the line, and there's no escaping it, because at the end of the day, we're trying to get away from spending on energy and trying to make the buildings more efficient.
So that's not our decision.
You can't go
'Cause you
below
can't go
code.
below.
Yeah, can't go below code. We can go more restrictive than
Sure.
code.
Okay.
If we want to say, well, we want to do 75% of those receptacles, and I'm willing to listen to the people whine about it,
Right.
then you can be more restrictive. You just can't be less.
So there's not like a spreadsheet that says more restrictive and we can filter by that and be like, these are the ones we can do that. That's not a bad idea.
Well, you can, and that's part of my reason for my position is to help negotiate with those things. You guys were all forwarded copies of the proposed amendments for the codes, and you would have had an opportunity to be able to go through it. All I can do is make recommendations for those, because I sincerely doubt you guys want to sit through 11,000 pages of building code and go, ooh, I wonder if I can get Steve to make this one different. So I propose it. You guys say, Steve, you're being a little crazy here. I don't think this is good for the city. Or, you say, yes, I agree. I think this is good. Okay. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to achieve, is that balance between cost effectiveness and safety. That's what we're trying to get to, is what is most equitable. And that's what the building codes are focused on. The building codes are already focused on what is most equitable between immediate life safety and costs, because the building codes don't want to become cost prohibitive and people can't use their own building codes.
Thanks, sir.
Any other?
No, not unless anybody has any other questions.
Okay, if there's no more questions, we're going to adjourn the work session. The time now is 6:19, and we'll begin regular session at 7. It's a little All right, it's 6:30, and the Building and Standards Commission is now reconvening into regular session. Item number 4, citizens' appearance. Anybody, this is the part of our hearing where anybody can come and talk about anything they want. Did anybody register for an appearance?
No, they did not.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Are you going to
No,
speak
not
on a
for- not for
specific
the open.
case or on something unrelated?
Specific case.
Okay, that's going to be later. Thank you. All right, since there's, Steve, did you read? You didn't read, so, okay, we'll go on to item number 5, and that's approval of the December 5th, 2024 Board of Building and Standards minutes. Did everybody get a chance to go over the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion to approve and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, minutes have been approved. Thank you. Item number 6, election of chair and vice chair. Okay, so we need to have a chairman and vice chairman for the calendar year. Is there any motion to elect a chair and a vice chair? I can't make any motions.
I'll make a motion that you continue as chair.
Thank you.
And
Do you want to throw
second that.
Michelle
and
under the
Michelle
bus?
as vice chair, if we can do it all in one swoop. Okay, yes.
Okay, we have a motion.
So I've got Mark LaGrosse as chair and Michelle Anderson as vice chair.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your confidence. Michelle certainly appreciates that, too.
Mr. Chairman, so for the record, you have been elected to be the chair for the ensuing year, and Michelle the vice chair. Is that correct for the record?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7. Item number 7, the agenda shows a show cause hearing to determine whether the building or structure at 407 Greenway Court complies with the Building and Standards Commission order dated December 5th, 2024, signed and filed December 11th, 2024, and that is for Waterside Estates 2, Block A, Lot 15. Desiree is going to present the case.
Thank you. 407 Greenway is a spacious two-story home that spans over 3,000 square feet. The structure was built in 1993, and the current owner, Keenan McCarthy, purchased the property in 2004. In December, the Building and Standards Commission declared the structure at 407 Greenway Court to be substandard and ordered it to be repaired. The purpose of this hearing is to review the repair process that was expected to be completed within the first 30 days following the issuance of the order. In preparation for this show cause hearing, notification was given to all recorded property owners and lien holders. Notices were sent by first-class certified mail, and a copy of the notice was posted on site at the property. Additionally, we published a notice in the local newspaper. Mr. McCarty has obtained the necessary roof permit and completed the roof repairs. He's also secured the required alteration permit. Additionally, he drained and cleaned the swimming pool and treated the property for pests. The remaining tasks that Mr. McCarty needs to complete are sealing all exterior openings and securing the fence gate. So these are the permits that are currently on file. He did apply for the roof permit on December 12th, 2024, and the roof did pass inspection December 17th, 2024. He recently applied for the alteration permit and was issued today. So the next couple of slides are just going to be pictures of the overview of what it looked like before and what it looks like afterwards. This is a picture of the roof replacement. And that's kind of a up-close look there. You can tell the difference in the color in the shingles. You can see that it has been repaired. Additionally, this is a view from inside. The roof decking has been repaired. The pool has been drained and cleaned. He did attempt to put a lock on the fence to secure it, but unfortunately, the gate still opens up. He needs to relocate that lock to secure the fence gate. So he did also get pest control. He treated the property for rodents, ants, and roaches. And then on the pictures on the bottom, you can see that those are new bait boxes that were placed around the property. The exterior openings are still exposed. He hasn't sealed them up or ordered the windows. He can talk about that more. I'm not sure if he has started that process to repair it yet. And these are just additional openings where rodents can be entering the home. So we're asking for a show cause hearing to be scheduled for April 3rd, 2025. To follow up on the repairs, we want to continue with the initial order and move on with the 60-day timeline mark where he continues to work on making these repairs, especially with the interior remodel. And we're hoping to see that the remodeling be almost completed by that date. And that concludes my presentation for 407 Greenway.
Thank you, Desiree. Do you have anybody have any questions for Desiree?
No other, would a permit be required to do seal all the holes and to comply with our prior order?
So the alteration permit's going to cover quite a bit. It'll be electrical, mechanical, and I believe the windows. But Steve could answer that further if I didn't answer that correctly.
Yes, so the building permit that's been issued is for rehabilitating the entire structure, not just sealing in the openings, replacing the windows, but also replacing any deteriorated or compromised structural members, the whole thing. He went to great lengths in order to obtain engineered plans for us to be able to issue that permit. So all the openings, stuff like that, are going to get resolved. However, I just want everybody to be aware that the openings really have nothing to do with rodent infestation. No matter what windows are in there, whether or not there's gaps on the exterior of the structure, there's still going to be rodents. They're going to be unaffected because they will pass through just about anything. What we need to do is help him get through his permit, get everything taken care of, and help get the structure habitated, and that is what ultimately will take care of the rodent issue there, is someone physically habitating in that structure and maintaining a rodent control program.
Thank you. Okay, is the applicant here now to present the case?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. Do you have anything to add?
No, we'll start, we just got our permits, we'll start work Monday.
Would you, if you have some, if you,
Do I need to stand up here?
yeah, go ahead and stand up, and please, we want to get your statement recorded. We also want you to take an oath, so please, if you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Keenan McCarty, 407 Greenway Court, Coppell, Texas.
Okay, thank you. And everything is going along? Do you have any issues or do you have any other things, anything else to add?
No, other than I couldn't get I got a handyman coming out tomorrow to put a new latch on the fence. And we ordered windows, so we should be starting putting windows in and going to work Monday.
Okay, windows are coming Monday?
I don't know if the windows are coming Monday. I know we're going to start, my contractor is going to come in and he's going to give me a list of what he's going to start, what he's going to start finishing.
Okay.
And then I'll submit that to Desiree.
All right, great.
I've been, like, every picture, every time I do something, I just submit it to her what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. McCarty? Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay, God bless. Thank you.
Is there anybody else here to speak before the board on this issue?
Mr.
All right, Mr.
Chairman,
Bolden, please
oh, that's right.
raise your hand. Speaking to the microphone, please. Do you solemnly
Patrick
swear?
Bolton, 403 Greenway Court,
Do you
Coppell.
solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I had a couple of questions for Keenan.
In the microphone, please.
The last meeting we had, sorry?
The microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't want to have, the last meeting we had, there was some question in my mind over your ability to finance the construction because of a dispute with the insurance company. Can you clarify that and assure us that you are in a position to move forward with construction starting Monday and paying the contractor starting Monday?
Yeah, I'm in a position to move forward.
Okay.
So there's, I'm still suing the insurance company, but there's monies that are already just sitting there, so I'm using those monies that are sitting there that we've gotten. Contractors already been paid in trenches, right? The first trench, and we're going to start. So there's enough money to put the house back together. It's just other monies they owe me beyond that, and the roof, they didn't want to pay for the roof, and it's like contents of like 1.4, a lot of money that the insurance needs to pay me for. So in short, yeah, we're going to begin to work and we're going to put the house back together.
Okay, thank you, Keenan. And I had one other question, and that's really an observation as an ex-construction person. It seems to me as though it's somewhat impractical to expect this project to be finished in 60 days from today. And I would request that Keenan's contractor submit a schedule to Desiree that is really reflected in these minutes, so we have a more realistic expectation of when the work's going to be completed, with some strategic deadlines like completing the windows. And the house is completely gutted, in case you didn't realize that. It's completely gutted right now, so there's a lot of work to do. And I just question if it's going to be done in 60 days. Observation. That's it.
Thank you. Is anybody else here to speak before the board with regarding this case?
Make sure that it's not substandard. Okay.
Like everybody else, step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Rick Roberts, 411 Greenway Court.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Could you remind me, because I'm a little bit short on upstairs, what was the consequences of the first round of duties that were supposed to be completed?
If you didn't do any of the repairs, it could be demolished, but that would be up to the board.
Okay, and what was he able to accomplish?
He accomplished the roof repair. He got the alteration permit. He cleaned and drained the pool. He has treated the property for rodents, ants, and roaches. And he attempted to secure the fence,
Yeah.
but
I think that we should all be thankful first that nobody went into that backyard and drowned, because that pool is full of water until Monday of this week when it got drained, right? So we didn't do anything until Monday of this week. Did we hit the terms? Yes, we did. Did we hit the guidelines? Yes, we did. But we should be thankful that nobody did that. Our grandkids, our friends, the whole thing. So it's critically important that when we set a timeline, that we understand life safety should have been first, and it wasn't. And so we got it fixed on Monday so we can move forward. But we still have an open building. We still have an opportunity for somebody to break in or go through because it's open. So when you say, what are the critical path issues that we listed at the last meeting and said, these are critical path, the very first one, the very second one, they didn't get done until Monday. The house is still open. And you're telling me there's no consequence, we're going to move forward. So now I'm charging you, if there is no consequence, let's make sure that moving forward, our path has consequence. So that way we understand what they're doing and what the consequences are. Because I agree with Patrick. I build restaurants. I can't frame out and do this building in 60 days. I can't. And you've been in construction a long, long time. Your expertise would probably support that.
Mr.
So
Roberts,
I'm curious.
You have 1 minute.
Oh, Perfect. I can't stretch it, so, but I just want you to know, this is kind of where we're going. This is 2 years or so of perpetual stretching and perpetual pushing down, kicking the can down the road. And we just about did this until Monday. And Monday, everybody shows up, and we get enough check marks that we can move forward. Well, that might be good enough for the first part, but let's not make it good enough for the second. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else here to speak on this case? As I see, there's none.
Mr. Chairman, you want to go ahead and close the public hearing and
So
then...
I'm going to close the public hearing now and open it to the board.
And we had Desiree put up the detailed work plan that you previously adopted along with the recommendation to continue with that plan and to move to a April 3rd, 2025 show cause hearing. One of the things that I would like to advise you of is our job under the ordinance is to ensure that the property is not substandard, not that it's occupied. That's up to the marketplace and up to the owner. It's our job to make sure it's secure enough that the building meets the minimum requirements and doesn't continue to deteriorate. So I think that the issues of making sure the building's closed are critical so that weather does not enter the property. Since it's unoccupied, I agree with the occupancy of the building really dictates pest control. Rats don't like noise, and we humans make lots of noise, and that keeps them away. But those are, in my mind, critical things. I will tell the citizens that have showed up, city council, nor this board is going to tear down a house that's this complete. That's economic waste. But we do have a concern about making sure it's secure so it does not deteriorate and negatively impact the neighborhood. And so I think you're on that course, and you've heard the citizens. So obviously, for Mr. Kennedy, getting that house closed up, to me, is critical so that it doesn't deteriorate. So he's got, you know, if it gets closed up and we get the road things, the openings, to your point, occupancy is the key, either for him or for him to sell it or to rent it so it is occupied so that we can have that building appropriately maintained for the integrity of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. So does anybody want to?
I've got just another point of clarification. I acknowledge the citizen's comment about meeting the deadlines. The pool was drained, which is one of the issues, and the lock was kind of part of that. Was the lock attempted to be repaired between the December meeting and then and it didn't work, or?
He placed a lock on the fence today and is not in the right spot to secure it to where it doesn't open up.
And then back to my prior question, just to make sure I heard correctly, the roof permit was applied for and the roof's been put on, but
And decking
and
has been repaired.
but the other permit for the windows and everything has not been submitted?
It was applied and submitted, it was issued today.
And issued.
Issued
The
today.
permit was
Issued today.
Thank you for that, sorry.
If I can expound on that a little bit, this is actually the third permit for reconstructing this building. Delay after delay, issue after issue, he was having with getting recompensed by the insurance company, forced him to postpone the construction. Unfortunately, it reached a point where the roof became compromised. Well, they can't do the interior remodel while there's an active roof leak. Insurance company was fighting him on paying for that roof leak. So that ended up being an additional delay. Since the permits were expired, I could not reinstate them. He had to apply for new permits. Since then, he did get his contractor to obtain a roof permit, got the structure dried in, at least for the roof portion of it, and then reapplied for his third permit in order to get the interior built out. So he has been working on this for the last few years. It's just hurdle after hurdle.
And what's the duration, lifespan of that permit?
Every single permit is only good for 180 days from the last action taken. And that includes from application date, inspection.
Literally keeps going.
Yeah, every single time there's an official action on behalf of the city on that permit, it renews that 180-day clock.
And sorry for all the clarifications. At the last meeting, we said all of this stuff has to be done within 30 days, but we had the 60 and 120 days. Those were from the December date.
That is true, and of course, I don't need to tell you about the weather that occurred in early January too, which then became a problem, and then, I'm not a contractor, but I know how that affects contractors, weather effects, because now crews get sent somewhere else to do something else, not available here, those kind of things, so there was some grace allowed as a result of, I think, the weather, and it was over Christmas. A lot of times, those crews are disbanded until after the first of the year, which is no fault of the property owner in this case, other than the fact that he's waited to get it done, but.
And so April 3rd gets us to past the 120 days.
April 4th is the due date for everything to be completed. So at our show cause hearing on April 3rd,
He's supposed
We-
to have everything on your plan.
we can reevaluate, we can amend the order, you can add fees to the order.
And the only thing you feel he hasn't done on all of these things is seal the house, I guess. Is that the right way of saying
Yeah,
that?
well, I think what.
Just the permit and the roof and the.
There's access, which would invite children to get into the house, which could get injured, or allow squatter into the house, and those kind of things. It becomes a security issue. And of course, if those things happen, kids start hanging off stuff, pulling stuff down. So it's a security issue. And then you've got people in the neighborhood visiting the house, which is a safety concern for neighbors, so.
Put a time limit on how much to seal that house.
I'm sorry.
Put a time limit, like 48 hours to get that house sealed up.
Yeah, you could.
I think we can. I think what we attempted to do at the last meeting is, hey, in 30 days, this is important stuff you need to get done. So I think if I look at the whole 120 days, feel free to correct me if I'm misinterpreting this. The sealing of all exterior openings and the gate lock are kind of the two outstanding things. But we acknowledge all the significant improvement. You've got the roof and you've got the pool drained and pest service. So if we're going to wait to meet again on show cause until after 120 days, we could say.
That house is dried in and sealed long before that.
Right, we could have an intermediate date.
You could give him an intermediate period within the 120 days to complete the closure issue. And
Desiree, what all?
Here's what I would do, is I'd give him a reasonable date to complete that work. I mean, it's now Thursday night, so starting Monday by the next Friday, say, for example, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm giving you an example. And if the closure of the windows or the outside has not been accomplished, he either needs to notify that his contractor can't be there and the reason for it, or you can start assessing a daily fine for not complying. So that you can incentivize him to complete the work.
And Desiree, maybe you've been out to the property. To what extent is the home still not sealed from the outside? And yeah, and like Mr. Schubert said, it's not like a crack in the eave that maybe we all have on our homes, but
Yeah.
windows missing, doors missing.
So doors are on there. The front door does lock, I believe. The back door locks. When I was out at the property recently, the patio here, the balcony, that door was open. It does shut. I don't know if it locks, but you do have a window completely gone here that, I mean, if somebody were to get up on that balcony, they could get into the house that way. I wouldn't suggest it because that balcony is not stable. This picture on the left here is also a second-story window, but there are a couple of windows that do have boards up that aren't completely sealed. So, I mean, he could go back, put up wood, and maybe put foam around the edges to seal it until he gets the windows in. But then we also have to worry about, he has some rotted eaves that have some holes, and then his dryer vent here needs to get a cover on the outside, because that's where the rodents are coming in. That's where most of the droppings for the rodents are, right in that area.
Well, and maybe not a motion yet, but do we want to entertain a intermediate deadline to, I don't know how prescriptive we need to be, but seal the home from the exterior elements, specifically doors and windows, and I might rely on the inspection division again to.
And so what are you thinking, 10 days from the day the
So-
motion is enacted in order, prior to penalty?
We normally do 10 days from the order, with the order done.
Well, I guessed it right on the nose.
I would assume that they'll make that in a motion to seal exterior exposed openings such as eaves, soffits, plumbing, windows.
Windows.
The word suggested penetrations,
Areas and seams.
open areas and seams. And that's 10 days from entry of the order, which would probably be, are you available, Mr. Chairman, to sign the order tomorrow? Okay.
I've got a question. So I've been sworn in, can I
Step up
You
to
can
the.
ask, but we don't have to
Well, I
answer.
just want to, I'm a little bit confused. If we're talking about setting a benchmark for review, should we also set a benchmark to review so the gates continue to be locked, secured, so the pool continues to be empty? Because we're talking about life safety. We know that we can't, you're telling me you're going to seal up the house so a kid can't break in, so all the teenagers can't be silly. But what about everything else? And should that be part of the checklist if we are serious about taking life safety to the next level at that house, right? Because what you're saying is accountability for
We get
sealing
it.
this stuff up,
We
that
get
was
it.
given 60 days ago, right? So 60 days ago, that was supposed to be done, and it's not done.
We hear you.
You know, I just want to make double sure, because this has been a problem for a long, long time, and now we got the right people with the steering wheel driving the bus, and I just want to make sure that I understand where the bus is going, and I appreciate everybody jumping in to get it done and get it fixed.
Thank
Okay.
you. And we do understand your frustration in all this.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. I'll make a motion that the property owner, within 10 days of the order, which would be effective tomorrow, has to have windows, doors, and the fence appropriately locked, and the open plumbing fixtures sealed.
Can we just say open areas of potential
Or-
penetration from exterior?
All openings in the exterior of the structure.
Yeah. Did you get that, Desiree? Okay. Continue, I'm sorry.
And I guess sorry, we'll back out of my motion for a second for discussion on that. So like, obviously, like a roof vent, openings will be reasonable with our application of openings. So I think the motion will be within 10 days of the order to have all openings in the structure sealed from the outside elements. Is that? In order, yes, which will then,
That's one thing.
which it would then continue.
The next thing is to make sure that the lock is fixed by then, and.
Yeah, the lock on the gate.
Maintain lock, because afterwards, the home is not occupied. I would recommend to a property owner, you better put a lock if you have a pool, if you're not at home. That's just kind of common sense, but as long as he's under our, supervision, for lack of a better way of saying it, that pool shall remain locked. Whether there's not a lock on it, I can't require him to do anything more after he's released from this order than I can anybody else in town. And no one else in town is required to put a lock on their gate. They're supposed to have a gate that has a latch on it. So and it's secured so it just doesn't flail open. So once he's out from underneath our supervision, if you will, then he would comply just as the rest of our citizens. However, if I were his lawyer, and I'm not, I would suggest you put a lock on your, since you're not there to supervise who gets in your backyard. That's just kind of common sense. Yeah, thank you.
So just to recap, all openings in the exterior structure, including doors, windows, shall be boarded up, sealed, or new windows should be installed. Additionally, eaves, soffits, plumbing, scratch that, no plumbing openings. Dryer vent openings shall be sealed. A lock should be placed on the fence and shall remain on the fence. In order to continue within 10 days from the 7th of this month, in order to continue the original timeline that was issued in the order from December. Is that correct?
We would continue with the original order as you have presented with these changes and the show cause hearing on the 3rd.
Any daily fees added to this amendment?
Not at this time. But I will tell the commission I will ask for fees if there's non-compliance.
Yes,
Is that fair?
that's fair.
I'd rather the money be put in the house and it get fixed than giving the city of Coppell money. So, but if they're not done, I'm going to ask for a sanction, a monetary sanction.
Okay.
Sorry,
Is
just
that
to
all right?
clarify,
So moved.
it's going to be 10 days from the day the order is signed, or is it going to be from tomorrow?
We're going to get it done tomorrow and we'll get Matt to sign it. So it'll be actually from entry because that's how the
Perfect.
order will read. So
Thank you.
in case I get hit by lightning or Desiree, it'll have to Monday.
Okay, so is everyone clear on my motion? I know there was a lot of discussion.
Well, I'm not completely clear on what happens if some of these things don't occur.
I'll be back for you and I'm going to ask for a monetary sanction.
Okay.
Okay, so I have,
Before the 3rd of April.
Yeah, to clarify that, you will be involved before we will reconvene on April 3rd to hear
Yes.
the
If
next status.
If they're
of it.
not done, I'll have Desiree notify me and then we'll summons the wizards to come back and impose a sanction.
okay.
Thank you. So can we accept that as motion there?
That's fine.
Okay.
That can be
Okay.
part of the motion, yes.
So
it
we have
may.
a motion.
And put it in the order.
So we have a motion to continue with the order with the amendments
I'll
previously
second.
discussed. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I've got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. All right, thank you. All right, item number 8. 433 Willow Springs Drive. Item number 8 on the agenda is to determine whether the fence or accessory structure located at 433 Willow Springs Drive complies with the standards outlined in Article 15-14, Chapter 15 of the City of Coppell Code of Ordinance and remedies suggested herewith in, and that would be Willowwood 2, Block G, LT 67. Desiree?
This hearing is being held to determine if the fence located at 433 Willow Springs Drive is substandard and violates our adopted city codes. 433 Willow Springs Drive is a one-story home that spans over 1,600 square feet. It was built in 1979, and the current property owner is Joanne Allison, which she purchased the property in 2012. Since June of 2023, the fence located at 433 Willow Springs Drive has been in disrepair. Staff issued several notices to the property owner, Ms. Allison, and the longtime resident, Ms. Hester, informing them of the violation. The notices were posted, emailed, mailed, and hand-delivered numerous times. Due to inaction on the repairs, the case was filed with municipal court. Neither party appeared for their pretrial hearings. Hence, the case was filed with the Building and Standards Commission.
Okay.
To prepare for this hearing, notification was sent to all recorded property owners and lien holders. Notices were sent by first class and certified mail, and a copy of the notice was posted on site at 433 Willow Springs Drive. Additionally, we published a notice in the local newspaper. So over the course of time, we have inspected this property repeatedly, and we found that it was in violation of Section 302.7.2. The fence has broken, loose, damaged, or missing parts and is considered a nuisance and must be repaired, replaced, or removed. So the next series of slides are just going to be kind of how the fence has deteriorated over time. This was on the initial first day that we went out to the property to inspect for the violation. You can see here that there's slats missing, loose or broken. These pictures here were taken about a year later, and the fence is still in violation with loose, broken, and missing slats. In July of 2024, the fence had deteriorated even further. At this point, a whole panel of the fence was missing. As of today, the conditions still are the same. The fence panel is missing, additional slats are broken and missing at the property. Since this fence has gone unrepaired since June of 2023 and has become a nuisance, staff is seeking an order from the commission to be issued to the property owner, Joanne H. Allison, ordering the substandard fence to be removed within 30 days from the date the order is signed. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Desiree?
Is a fence required by code on the back property? So we're just requiring removal? We would be recommending removal of the fence?
Yeah, so this
full stop.
property doesn't have a pool, so they're not required to have
Gotcha.
a fence.
Saw the trampoline, which is number one accident causer, right, for insurance purposes?
Yes, so once the fence is removed, there's additional violations behind that fence, collection of rubbish,
That's the
outside
question.
storage, and then also the trampoline could also be a nuisance, and we'll follow up with that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So what happens if the homeowner doesn't comply with the order?
Code compliance will hire contractors, and we will get an abatement warrant, and we'll go out there and remove the fence. And then we will charge the owner for the work, and if they do not pay that bill within 30 days, a lien will be put on the property.
Any other questions for Desiree? Is the applicant here to present the case? Well, since the applicant's not here to present the case, will entertain a motion. I'm going to close the public hearing and open it to the board.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation
I'll second.
as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the recommendation, and I have a second. All in favor? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, in this case, Desiree and I have prepared an order, and if you would be so kind as to execute it before you leave tonight, that reflects the motion that was made and the recommendation that's on your screen.
Okay.
I did place a due date on there for March 14th. That'll give us some time to send out copies of that order to all recorded property owners and lien holders.
Okay.
So she'll have 30 days after she's notified technically on this one.
Just making sure we weren't getting sideways on.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Item number 9. Adoption of the 2024 International Building Code. Item number 9 on the agenda is to consider adoption of the 2024 International Codes and the City of Coppell Construction Chapter. Steve?
Mine's a whole lot quicker and easier. So we've been underneath the 2015 International Code since 2017. I know that the city did start looking into adopting the 2021 code cycle shortly before I came on board. Unfortunately, that was about a year before the 2024 codes were going to come out, so I waited until this opportunity to be able to start the adoption process. For anyone who's not aware, the international codes come out every 3 years. So does the National Electoral Code. It is a continuous progress of comparative studies of this is the way things used to be, these are the changes in technology, these are the changes in construction practices, these are the changes in construction materials. And they try to keep evolving the building codes to accommodate those changes over time. So going from the 2015 International Code to the 2024 International Codes, there are a lot of significant changes. A lot of things have changed in the codes. Some of them will run up costs of construction, while others decrease costs of construction. So at the end of the day, it ends up being kind of a wash on costs to us, our contractors, and our homeowners. Some of the changes include things such as sleeping lofts have a maximum area allowable and are considered a portion of the story below now. I know it seems kind of weird. However, for a residential construction designer or somebody who's doing a remodel, now they can have an occupiable loft without it kicking in certain criteria, so long as it stays underneath the square footage. For commercial properties, we have gotten proposals for projects that include uses up on the roof, such as a walking area, dog walks, things of that nature. Well, underneath the 2024 International Building Code, they're now going to have a elevator going up to that roof. One of the things that makes life easier is plumbing and expansive soils. Used to be that if you were putting in a plumbing rough in expansive soils, such as what we have, it's a high elasticity, you'd have to excavate a lot of dirt and replace a lot of dirt. Now they use styrofoam in order to create voids for the plumbing to run through. It's kind of hard to see in this picture, but you can see steel rods coming up. Those are the hangers. So when the concrete guy comes through and pours that slab, those carriers are part of the slab and foundation. This is actually quite common in schools right now. You see a lot of engineers speccing out a system like this for schools. With the 2024 code adoption, I will no longer have to allow an exception for them to be able to do it because it's already going to be part of code. Additional changes to the ordinance that I'm making is basically to restructure the entire sections. 15-1, which used to be the International Building Code, is now going to be our construction chapter, which, as I stated previously, is basically taking different portions of our ordinances that help dictate our expectations for construction sites, noise levels, hours of construction, and our registration requirements, and putting it all into one cohesive document for reference and use by our contractors and residents. 15-2 is going to change from our adoption of the National Electrical Code to the International Building Code. 15-3 goes from the International Mechanical Code to the International Residential Code, and so on and so forth, as you see here. The last one, which is 15-17, will change from the International Existing Building Code to a reserved status, just so that as we also start adopting other codes, we have room to work with in the future. Does anybody have any questions? I know I went through pretty quick.
Yeah, so I know that there's been talk of North Central Texas Council of Governments. There's a regional standard that gets put out for codes or their recommendations. Is there an expected timeline for when they would deliver their kind of the regional recommendations or baseline from which to operate?
Most likely those will come out later this year, October or November of this year. However, as stated previously, it is highly unlikely that I will adopt any of those. I don't have them up right now, but I actually have the 2021 recommendations for the National Building Code that I've separated out and put down reasonings. One good example is the fire stations. Fire stations, according to COG, should be a B occupancy. According to the international codes, it's a mixed-use building. You have residential in it. You have a kitchen in there. You have equipment storage. You have a area for vehicles. So it's a mixed use. COG's recommendation is that it remain a B occupancy as it did in the Southern Standard Code 50 years ago because it's a legacy code. It's not a legacy code. It's a code that got put away a long time ago because the codes have evolved. Back when they were considered B occupancies, the time for flashover for a fire was 15 minutes or so. Nowadays, it's about 30 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds. So a lot has changed since then, and I think it's really important that we stay with current codes and not try to go back to legacies.
Sure, and I absolutely appreciate that and doing the work to see where those things are. I guess as we're tasked with making recommendations for the city, like that's our responsibility, as it were, right? Mm-hmm. As the appointees, as we look at that, there's going to be things that you as staff would recommend that are different than COG, that are wise like that are appreciated. At the same time, if there's things that we want to evaluate up against that, in order to come back and reevaluate against the recommended regional codes coming out for the other municipalities, would we have to revisit and reopen a meeting and go back through all this to do it again at that time?
No, we would not.
In order to entertain that? How would we not? If we adopt them now, we would not. In order to review them when NetCog came out, we wouldn't have to.
Even if COG did come out, I would most likely not propose an adoption of COG's recommendations.
Now, it's my understanding that in North Texas Central Council of Governments, it's only recommended amendments, and basically, I think, if I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, if I understand this correctly, these amendments are pretty much regionally specific to kind of help fine-tune the international codes rather than to depart from them, but to fine-tune them for the local region. Is that correct?
Yes, it's trying to create a kind of a uniform adoption of the codes from municipality to municipality, so that way contractors floating from city to city have one basic principle.
And that's my concern on the question with COG on those recommendations. If we're going to run afoul is probably the wrong term, but if we're going to be different than, say, Irving or Grapevine or Flower Mound, and somebody drifts across and now they got to come see us because there's a variance they didn't know about that was different because they used the COG standard and we didn't, that's my concern.
Well, and ironically enough, even if we did adopt a lot of COG's recommendations, we would still be different. A lot of the municipalities that adopt COG recommendations alter them or don't adopt them at all. It's kind of a mix and match, just as we're doing. There are some COG recommendations that I am adopting because it's always been a part of our code adoption process. There's other portions that I'm not, simply because I really don't think they're a good fit for anybody. This is a comparative study that I started from the 2015 International Building Code, our amendments, COG's recommendations, and what the 2024 codes state. This ended up being much more time consuming, so I slimmed down the process. But a good example is this one right here, 101.4. reference codes. The other codes listed in sections, blah, 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 when specifically adopted. Now, they've added the verbiage, when specifically adopted. Verbiage doesn't need to be there. No matter what, when we're talking about the reference standards in the International Building Code and all the International Building Codes, they are part of that code. They're specifically stated to be part of that code. So there's no reason to have the verbiage when specifically adopted in there. When amendments have been adopted to the reference codes and standards, each reference to said code and standard shall be considered to reference the amendments as well. Any reference to NFPA 70, which is the electrical code, shall mean the electrical code as adopted. I've never had an issue enforcing any of this. I've never had an issue going before a judge and quoting the building code to where I would have to amend the building code for this verbiage. I do not think that this is a good, solid reason to change verbiage from the building codes.
And we don't know if NetCog is going to make that recommendation, or you have...
They have for every year previously since the
Okay.
2006 code, so chances are it's going to be in the 2024s again. Another one is electrical. Provision of electrical code shall apply to the installation of electrical systems, including alterations, repairs, replacement, equipment, appliance, fixtures, fittings, and appurtenances thereto. This was dropped when ICC quit publishing the ICC electrical code, but the electrical code still should be referenced regardless of how it is adopted. Well, the ICC only came out with the electrical code in one code edition. That was the 2006 code edition. COD did not keep up with that fact. It doesn't exist anymore. There's no reason for us to amend this because the International Building Code already references the National Electrical Code, so it's irrelevant. And this is a 2021 reference to amend the 2021 International Building Code for something that occurred back in 2006 and got changed in the 2009s. Code Compliance Agency, yes, that is one that I'm going to adopt because this is what the actual International Building Code states. Creation of enforcement agency. The blank is hereby created and the official in charge thereof shall be known as the building official. So the International Code is recommended as be called the Building and Safety Department. I'm not aware of too many folks that use building safety. There are some here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but the vast majority of us refer to it as building inspections. It's kind of an industry standard for here. So that is one COG amendment that is part of my proposed amendments to the 2021 or 2024 codes. Determination of substantially improved or substantially damaged existing buildings and structures in flood hazard areas. So by state law, flood hazards goes to our engineering department. It just does. COG has made recommendations, though, that we delete all of the sections that reference flooding. You'll see I have all of the IBC here, the 2024 edition, because they changed their numbers. 104.2.1 now on the 2024 continues down. It did not underneath the older code edition, the 2021s. But COG makes specific reference here to deleting sections of how to meet the structural integrity requirements for flood hazard areas. Delete sections 104.2.1, 104.10.1, 110.3.12.1, 16.12, and 3144. We kind of need those. That dictates how to actually build the structure. The amendments of 10.5.2. This is something that I am continuing. It was in our 2015 codes. And I'm going to be doing basically a copy and paste of the 2015s to the 2024s because the work that we exempt from permits hasn't changed. And if you guys would like to postpone this, I'm more than happy to do so. However, for us to go through every single COG recommendation, that's 8 different books, 8 different volumes, and probably about 86 pages of data. So if you guys would like some more time to go over this, we can absolutely do that. However, this is on council agenda for February for work session, and city council agenda for vote on March 11th.
I'm assuming if we tabled, they'd table without recommendation from this body? Is
Yes,
that-
yeah, under the ordinance, you're supposed to make a recommendation before they would consider it.
Right. So if we table
Well,
it, we
here's
table, they
my,
wouldn't be
I have a
hamstrung.
question, Mr. Chairman. When are the COG standards going to be published for use?
Sometime the end of this year.
How about the fire? Do you know, Tim?
The regional coordinating committee, I think they meet probably here the next month. I can call them right now and ask him. But,
Would
it's
they
in
do the
draft.
fire at the same time? I mean, how do we know, here's my problem. How do you know what the standards are until the standards are voted on or approved or the final draft's done? And what I think the question that's being asked, what if they change something and that causes us to have to come back and change this again?
And do it all
So
over.
COG is just a recommendation. We do not have to do anything according to COG.
Sure, but if we want to take their recommendation, we would have to open this back up.
If you would like to, yes. However, that would be a long process because we'd actually have to go through a class in order for me to provide you the data in order to make an educated decision on whether or not to adopt it.
So you're saying that even when they publish them, we're not looking to review what COG's putting out there? Because we're going to do, your recommendation is to do this anyway, absent any recommendation from the regional COG?
Yes, based on their recommendations for the 2021s, which will be the same for the 2024s. They'll just have a different number.
Now, I want to,
What are the-
as I understand it, though, COGS is changing what the International Code Council has written. All right? And it is an option as to whether any municipality chooses to adopt all or part of those amendments. Okay, that's how I understand it. And certainly, if no municipality adopted any amendments, then they would all be on the same page, okay?
Yeah, if
They're
all
always going-
municipalities
all
rejected.
municipalities are always going to be on different pages because for every municipality, there's a chief building official who has his own idea how he's going to run his city, how he's going to enforce code in the city. So, if we were to table this, knowing that we're not going to adopt it anyway, that seems to me to be a bureaucratic quagmire that we could avoid.
I know, I give advice all the time, and it's routinely not followed all the time. We can make whatever recommendation, but ultimately the council decides what the exceptions are going to be, not us. So, having said that, I am not nearly, after 50 years of doing this, as clairvoyant as I was when I started. So while we make recommendations, what I'm avoiding, what I don't want us to do is do something and the council wants something else done. So I want to make sure if that's the direction, we can still do the briefing and say that we're back to you. And if they tell us the staff, I don't want the 2021 exceptions, I want the COG exceptions. Steve and I can bark all we want to about it, but if that's what they want to do, I know what I would do, and I'd say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, and here they are. But I don't want to do this and get down there and make it look like we're doing something that we don't know what we're doing. And my only question is, I do have architects and lawyers that ask questions like that, and I'm okay with that. I just want to have the right answer for them.
Sure. And I guess I should share my hesitancy is the fact that those recommendations haven't come out. I have concern for regional compliance, but like we say, every city can choose to adopt or not adopt any pieces of that, but absent the recommendation, we don't know what we're rejecting yet. And then the list of amendments, while 100 pages long, and I'm sure a lot of work to pull those out, thank you, they share amend section as, they're not strike through. So we don't have the reference point in the code to know what we're changing from in the baseline. We can know what it's changing to, but we have we don't have the grounds for what it's changing from, which now I'm operating blind in both directions.
Oh,
So-
in all fairness, though, that's part of my job. My job is to put all this together and for you guys to I accept my recommendations or ask me for more data. That's how it's supposed to work.
Certainly.
But that being said, this panel is also supposed to be made up of construction professionals, each with a background in construction. That's the way the codes are set up. We amended that because it's kind of difficult to fill. We don't have a master electrician on the panel. We don't have a licensed mechanical contractor on the panel. So it does create hurdles. And unfortunately, if you do wish to go through all of them, it is going to be a very time-consuming process, and we would have to schedule times for all of us to meet and for us to go over each and every recommendation for adoption. The IBC recommendations from COG is 22 pages. So that's going to be about 3 or 4 hours going through all of that.
I don't think that they're asking you to do something. How can I say this? How can I make a decision about something I have never seen? That's what he's saying. So you're asking me to completely trust you and me to not do my job, to review these, to make a recommendation. They may love your recommendation, but they can't see what the recommendation is. That, I think, is the question.
And that's the point.
And
that-
maybe a different way is, Steve, is it your duty to review the COG recommendations when they release those?
No, it's my option. It's
And-
my option to review the COG.
Okay, so if, at your option when those come out, if you looked at those and you said, oh, this one's a good idea, you would then present that back to us and then the city council to amend and adopt something?
Yes, and exactly, and that's what we have here. This is my recommendation for adopting the International Building Code. Some of them are COG recommendations based on the 2021s, and some of them are ones that we've already had. They've already existed in our 2015 code adoption. And I personally try to stay as close to the building codes as humanly possible. Having been a contractor, nobody drives around with the ordinances, nobody drives around with, well, I do this in this city, so I should be able to do it here. It just does not work that way. We travel around with the building codes, print version, in our trucks. We may or may not open it up, but that's how we function. We educate ourselves going from municipality to municipality by getting red tags. One of the jokes back in my day when I was a contractor was how one thing in city of Fort Worth got me a green tag, but if I did it in Dallas, I'd get a red tag, and vice versa. Stuff that was absolutely required by city of Dallas would get me a red tag in Fort Worth. And that's what COG has tried to get around. It will never change, though. It's always been that way and always will be, because that's just the nature of the business.
Sure. So when you say some of these are from 2021 COG recommendations, you're saying you're taking some of the 2021 COG recommendations here, but you're not expecting to take any of the more recent COG recommendations?
Correct, because the 2024 COG recommendations will be just about exactly the same as these, just with different numbers, because the code section has changed.
How do you know if they haven't adopted? That's the question.
Right.
How do you know when they haven't adopted? You may have an answer.
Well,
that's the
from
question.
having done the code adoptions for municipalities for the last 10 years, these are basically the exact same ones that they had back in 2009. It's about the same as they had in 2012, about the same as they had in 2015, basically the same as 2018, same as 2021s. So if you go year after year of the original building codes, right now, it has the 2021s there. Here we go. 2018 code adoptions. National building codes.
I'll just ask you another question while you're doing that, but you don't know, correct? I'll play lawyer, that's what I do. So, but you don't know what they're gonna do until they do it, correct? You're making assumptions based on their past performance, not on what they will do.
Correct.
Okay.
And
Pass away.
if I really wanted to, I probably could try to carve out the time during my workday to go down to COG and argue with them that, you know, these aren't valid and might be successful, might not. I know a lot of the building officials that are part of COG, and as I stated, a lot of the building officials on COG don't even adopt COG recommendations
And
themselves.
let me clarify my questioning real fast. I'm assuming that you and your experience as staff in making the recommendation have far more knowledge, of course, on the material. That's not in question. It's more the second piece of it, my responsibility as we're appointed to these chairs to say, hey, I've reviewed these recommendations and I'm putting my name on it to say, yes, this is a good idea. Yes, I approve of them. But if I don't have the full picture of what I'm approving, there's my concern, right? That I don't know if that makes sense. I'm hoping that's coming across right.
It does, but the difficulty is that, as I was trying to say, in order for you guys to fully make a fully educated decision, then we'd have to go through each and every COG recommendation one by one by one. And that's over 100 pages of data, and that's a lot of hours.
Yeah, or even on the amendment sections, if we have, again, we talked earlier about strike through, if we have what it was to what it is, the changes are obvious to us, right? Just putting out there, maybe this is for future adoption as we put the paperwork together, amend it to read as this. Well, what did it say a second ago? There's 5,000 of these on this piece of paper. Amend it from what to what? If it's changing something to be a minimum of $1,000, well, was it $10 before? Because that's a big jump, or was it $999 and we're just rounding it up? Like, I can't make recommendation based off what I'm seeing without the aforementioned knowledge that it's altering, if that makes sense.
Yep, no, absolutely. Unfortunately, it's, again, a lot of pages, a lot of hours.
Anything in the 2024 code that you think hinders the city?
No, not at all. Like I said, the reason for the building codes is they are trying to make the thing that is most equitable between cost and life safety.
Is there anything, if I'm just playing hypothetical here, if we didn't pass this tonight and we waited till our April 3rd meeting to do this and we pushed all this, COG comes out with their recommendations, you have time to review. Is the city any worse in waiting a few months to wait for that?
No, because
knowing we don't know when they're going to release it, but.
Well, we adopted a 2023 National Electrical Code without any amendments.
Yep.
There aren't any issues with it. Most of our contractors like it because they don't have to memorize any particular city amendments. They're going straight off the code books. Our adoptions here, as you can see, this is the 2018 and the 2021s. And it is basically word for word the exact same things year after year after year.
So we, at the end of the day, we would be approving the international building codes with just premature of a local interjection.
With local amendments and not the NT-COG's sanctioned amendments.
So it would be the standards, but with a bunch of changes for our local, what we want to alter. Right, it wouldn't just be the standard, they wouldn't be going off the book. We have alterations that you've said you do and don't like.
Well, yes, so the recommendations that I have for y'all are stuff that either we already have in our ordinance or is from COG. The only exception to that would be in the International Building Code, Chapter 10, where I have recommended that we get rid of alternating tread devices for roof access. If any of you are familiar with an alternating tread device, imagine a ladder at a steep climb where it has a foothold, 2 foot up, you have another foothold, and about halfway between on the other side of a metal rail, you have another foothold. It is almost impossible to make it up that darn thing when you're wearing full gear, especially if you're trying to carry your buddy, because he passed out due to heat exhaustion or got overcome by smoke. So it is my recommendation that we get rid of the alternating tread devices, keep it as either a ladder, a ship's ladder, or stairs and a door, in order for our emergency first responders to get out of a roof safely. So that one is not a COG recommendation, nor is it something that we've had historically, but I think it is a not at all expensive deal for our designers and contractors in order to make accommodations for that. So we do have items such as that.
Gotcha. And just to be clear, when I mentioned earlier where this isn't strike through, this is just changing without reference point to what it is, what's being changed. It's not that we need to go line by line through that. It can be in the document regardless of its length. I can go through it on my own time. Like I'm willing to put in the work and go line by line, strike by strike. I don't mean to insinuate that city staff should have to devote, 40 hours of time going through that with us.
Well, in all fairness, though, this isn't just for your use, it's for the rest of the board as well. So, I mean, if you guys wanted to be able to sit and confer and talk about it, then it would be most beneficial for you guys to have the background of it and the reasoning behind it, which is my whole purpose of existing.
Great. No, I'm saying because these will come up again. Standards will be adopted in the future in perpetuity, right?
We're going to be back here doing this in 3 years.
There you go. So every 3 years as this happens, just recommendation from a member, not sanctioned by everybody here. If there could be, whether it's strike through or what's being changed from to, then we have the ability to do that without wasting more of your time on, I know exactly what's being changed.
Okay. A lot of that is going to be copy and paste, but I can absolutely put something together and email it out to y'all. Whatever we can do to help streamline this process would be most beneficial, because like I said, we're going to be doing this every 3 years moving forward. Part of the city's rating for the ISO, which helps dictate our insurance rates for this municipality, is whether or not we're on the most recent edition of the building codes available. So if we stay on the 2015s and I get audited by ISO, it's called a BKEGS, then the city gets dinged pretty darn hard and everybody's insurance rates go up. So that's our whole purpose for moving forward, trying to make sure that we're on track for every 3 years adopting the latest, greatest.
And the last time we adopted this, you said wasn't 3 years ago though? It was going back how
No,
far?
it was 2017 was the last time we did a code adoption, except for the 2023 National Electrical Code. You guys did that
So as far as
spring of
getting
last
dinged
year.
for insurance, has that happened since 2017?
Yes, I got audited a year and a half ago, and the auditor told me they're probably going to be moving forward with doing this every 3 years. So I have a year and a half to get a lot of changes made for the municipality to help improve our ISO rating.
Gotcha. So we've got recommendation from you guys. This is what we should pass. From a legal standpoint, is there recommendation to table or recommendation to adopt?
Because you're supposed to make the recommendation. Like I said, that's a local provision in our ordinances, is to have you guys review it. So if you've reviewed it and you make the recommendation, the council generally accepts your recommendation, moves forward, that of yourselves and building official. But if you're uncomfortable, I don't know that April 3rd is your next meeting. If that would make everyone crazy, we're already 2 cycles behind. I don't know what 2 months would change, but that's just me. Tim, do you know when the next ISO rating would occur?
So the fire one, we're gonna call for one probably in the next 6 months. So yeah, we'll definitely need to have it done by ours, at least the fire code by then, for sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Is
by
the
the
fire,
April
is the,
one.
the,
I mean, if we
but the
hit
fire
April
codes, you've got the strike-throughs for them?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the COG Fire Code Board, we finished up about a month ago. I'm on that committee, been on it for 30 years. We finished ours, it just hasn't gone to the Regional Code Commission that does
But
the
you have
ultimate vote.
The final draft.
The final draft is not, it still says draft on it because it hasn't gone to the RCC yet. Once we get that, and again, David Kerr's in charge of the RCC. I'm not sure when they're actually voting on all of them. They usually take all of them at the same time. But yes, we have a consultant on board for our ISO, and we were hoping to call ISO for the property protection, the PPC version, which we are an ISO Class 1. But with being so far behind on the amendments, we'll lose 2 points. Probably not going to kill us. We'll still be an ISO 1 without the code adoption. It'd be really close, though.
I mean,
But we're going to...
If they receive the information that they're desiring to make the choice on April the 3rd, and then I'll just make a huge assumption, like that's been going around tonight.
Yeah.
If they approve it, then it can go on to the first meeting in April.
April or May, I think we'd be fine. I don't think we're going to get audited by the ISO prior to summer. So from the PPC standpoint.
Can you request the review in anticipation of the adoption?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. That's what our plan is.
What they're asking for, they're not, I don't believe anyone's arguing with Steve about what his recommendations are. There's some angst, if you will, by them that they want to make sure that if they're asked, did you see the changes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but I don't want them telling one of my council members that they were uncomfortable.
I understand.
And because I don't want to put us and the staff and you and me in that position, and I want them to fulfill their ordinance ordained responsibility to make the changes, and I never want one of them to say they didn't have enough information.
Yeah, I think mine is, I think I have maybe 40 amendments, so it's 40 paragraphs that I'll just have to have strike-throughs. I can have it here
You
in
can send it out
a month.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's got tons of them.
Yeah.
Don't listen to him. Is it a possibility for us to make a motion and pass this tonight, but then encourage, if not request, that they review the COG recommendations and then present on those to this committee once they've had a chance to review those and say, we reviewed them all and we don't recommend taking any, or, hey, they had a really good one this year. And is that
I mean, you could go
because
ahead
if we
and-
do
you
push
could
this to
approve-
April and then the COG doesn't release their recommendations for any number of reasons by then we're still back in the same, other than potentially
No,
reviewing
because
these
at least you would
details.
know what the changes are. The problem is, unless you want to go through them all tonight, if he were to give you a document with the strike-throughs and the changes, you could review it and say, we reviewed, Steve's recommendations make sense to us.
And then he has
and
to
move
present
forward.
it to the council, though.
Yeah.
So we're
In-
not
in 40
approving
years-
it, we're approving him to
And in
present
40
it
years,
to the
they've never
council.
done anything that you haven't recommended. And that's because they trust you to make it and to do the work. That's why they have you review it, because, not that they want to shirk the responsibility, they've delegated that to you. And I don't want you to go and tell them, well, yeah, I passed them, but I have no idea what the changes are. And then this way you could say, we know what the changes are, we got the strike through, Steve made his presentation, we didn't have any questions. Or we questioned this one and he satisfied us and we approved it. That's all I'm trying to avoid. Now, if you want to go ahead and approve it and ask the strike-throughs be provided to you, and then we have to come back and change something,
Yeah, then what?
well, they may not be as happy as the other ones. I don't know that. But now you're doing the same thing twice. And he doesn't want to do it, I don't want to do it, you don't want to do it, so.
And any change that, like, so if
These will go in the ordinance, so if there's changes in these recommendations and local exceptions, I have to change the ordinance.
after the city council approves
Yes,
it,
yes.
and so if we approve tonight, city council approves at their next board meeting, and then he wants to change a comma in 6 months, it comes back to us, and then,
Technically, it's an ordinance, he can't change your ordinance. I can change your ordinance.
but he presents
They
it to
have to
us.
approve it.
We have
Steve,
to-
I have a question.
Yes.
In COGS, typically when they make amendments, do they add or do they strike?
Well, it's kind of a 50-50 mix. You've got some things where they add sections and other areas where they'll strike and try to have alternate verbiage put in its place. It just really depends on the section. What I pulled up here is a good example. Section 1010.2.5 bolt locks. Amend exceptions 3 and 4 as follows. Where a pair of doors serves as an occupant load of less than 50 persons in group B, F, M, or S occupancy, remainder unchanged. So they added the M. Exception 4 is where a pair of doors serves a group A, B, F, M, or S occupancy, remainder unchanged. So they added group A and they added group M.
Okay.
So part of this would be for me to sit with you guys and tell you what all that means.
Okay, so they made it more stringent in that case.
Oh, now they made it less stringent because
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
yeah, they're allowing a bolt lock, which is a impediment to egress on a group A occupancy, which is an assembly. So an assembly would be like a religious get together, or a lot of people getting together in a section such as this. This would be an assembly. So in case of an emergency, for people who are not familiar with the place, their first time being there, well, now there's slide bolts impeding their path of egress. They have no way how to operate that because this is not where they work. They don't know the joint. So black smoke, fire, heat, people screaming, they're stuck, which is why this is something that I would not recommend adopting. So that's what we'd have to do for each and every COG proposal, is we'd have to go through a line item. I'd have to explain to you all what exactly it means, make my recommendation, and go from there. And don't get me wrong, I actually love talking about code. So.
Okay, so basically, the INCOG's amendments are more or less a little bit relaxing.
Some of them are. Some of them, I believe, are less stringent than code, and by definition, should not be adopted because it is less stringent than code. You cannot be less stringent by state law. That would not prevent us from adopting it. However, if it came down to litigation, we would lose the litigation simply because we were definitively less strict than the building codes dictated. So we'd be liable for whatever occurred.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, and even when it comes to strike-through, of course, it includes amended, here underlined, all underlined text is going to be new in the strike-through documentation, right? And so something like option number 6 there on the page, right? Like, this is all new. This is a new exception recommended. Like, well, we can tell, all right, this is wholly new. It's not, all right, what was it before this got added? I know that everything underlined is new.
Yeah, it says it right there, section 1020.2, construction, add new exception 6 as follows, and then it gives their reasoning. Similar concept was previously in UBC, which is the Uniform Building Code. That went out of use in 2000. That's when the international codes came out, was back in 2000. This scenario occurs primarily in existing non-sprinklered buildings, which under current IBC would be required to have a fire resistance rated corridor. New exception provides a cost-effective solution for single-tenant space in lieu of the base IBC requirements to retrofit a fire sprinkler system throughout the building. So this section is actually grossly incorrect. This recommendation from COG is way off base. So it references the Uniform Building Code. Uniform Building Code stopped being used 25 years ago. They're talking about retrofitting a fire sprinkler system throughout the building. Well, retrofitting a fire sprinkler system goes underneath the International Existing Building Code, not the International Building Code. It wouldn't fall underneath the International Building Code unless we specifically did not adopt the Existing Building Code. And the Existing Building Code does add provisions for increasing fire ratings so you do not have to put up a fire suppression system. So this COG recommendation is incorrect and off base.
Unless this is new construction, right? In which case a single tenant structure wouldn't have to have fireproofing by this recommendation.
Which would be less strict, and technically speaking, we cannot adopt it because if we did and there was an occurrence, we'd partially be liable because we made an amendment to the codes that was less strict.
But for some reason, COG's recommending just that.
Yes, because it's part of the UBC, and that's what the gentleman who made the recommendation is accustomed to. That's what sticks out in his head when he looks at a set of plans.
Interesting. So single tenant space that wanted to have like a, just doing their business here, they would have to.
They'd have to meet current
Fire
code.
retardant.
And it's, the current code exists because the materials used are quite different than they were underneath the uniform codes. Flashover is seconds, not minutes. The tenuity of life just doesn't exist there anymore, not like it used to. So that's why the uniform codes are no longer used. Uniform codes have made changes, and current uniform codes actually are the exact same as the international codes. So the only difference is one's put out by the ICC, the other one's put out by IAMPO, IAMPO.
Gotcha.
So this one I actually agree with. Frost protection at required exit, delete this section. We don't need it. We've got what? Maybe 1 week out of a year where it gets cold. This is actually more in reference to climate zones that are colder than ours, like a climate zone 1 or a climate zone 2. We are a climate zone 3A. So we don't need frost protection.
No, and that's fine. And I'd sit here the whole night and I'd run the whole document. I would enjoy that. But I don't mean to speak for everybody on the board with my questions. So didn't mean to commandeer the conversation. Just was hoping to have reference point in the documentation that we've so far been provided, what is being changed, just in documentation, even if it is a copy paste, or if it's a strike through like this where it's underlined where it's new and strike through where it's changed, that gives us the standpoint, because we have to put our name on it saying, hey, I've reviewed these and I think they're a good idea or a bad idea, as opposed to just, Steve's a great guy and he said it's good, so I'm going to say thumbs up, as much as I, would love to agree with that.
Well, that's why I started, actually I started doing these for the edification of my own team, but that's why I have the comparative studies between the 2015 21 COGS and the 2024 codes. And that's something that I can actually continue with, and I can tweak it in such a manner that it'll provide you guys that same data. This is what we currently have underneath the 2015 codes. This is the 21 COG recommendations, which is the same as the 18s, same as the 15s, same as the 12s, and you guys can see what the verbiage in the 24s are. And I have set it up in such a manner that, let's say, these two sections right here, 303, let's say this one was 303, but underneath the 24s they changed it, then it would have over here what the current code section is.
Right, whereas the current highlighting isn't, there's not a difference, right?
Yeah, but this right here is the 2024 International Building Code, section by section, what it says.
If that's what you want, we'll just make a motion to table it to the 3rd, provide the information, and we'll move ahead on the 3rd. Hopefully everyone will enjoy reading it and go through it and do whatever it is y'all need to do, because ultimately that's why you're doing this. If it didn't matter to the council, they're not obligated for you to review it. Like I say, they generally feel comfortable based on what our building official tells them and what you tell them. Because the first thing they're going to ask is, did the Building and Standards Commission review this? And what was their recommendation? They said adopted. So they do rely on you to do that. Now, it's true that we do have an architect, and he takes greater interest in that. Just like when we have a legal matter, the lawyers take great interest in that. When I have an engineering thing, the engineer takes greater interest in that. So, but they do ultimately rely on you, and you need to be satisfied that you want to move ahead. If you want more information, we'll get it to you, and you can absorb it and do what you want with it, and then we'll ask you to approve these changes on the 3rd.
Gotcha. I was just trying to see, is it this documentation right here that we'd be sent, Steve, the one that you're looking at?
It'll be similar to this. I'm just going to tweak it a little bit.
Like if you scroll down a little bit, I'm just trying to see, as an example, right here where there's a difference in the number of bullets that stands out, right? I'm like, able to tell what's new and what's not based on how this is structured?
So no, this is straight copy and paste of what the 2024 International Building Code has on the far right. The far left is what it says in the 2015 code. So it's a comparison between the two. So part of what we have to do as building inspectors is, this is what I've been enforcing for the last yay many years. Now I've got a new code. What does the new code say? So this is my comparison between the two so that my team has a better idea of what's changed over the years. And this is absolutely something that I can tweak a little bit so that it includes, this is what the 2024 code says, this is what I'm recommending for amendments, and this is why.
And that's, yeah, really what we're kind of looking for is what is, and then what's the change. If I have just the change, then I don't know. I'm like, maybe, yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm basing it off who I like. So I bet it's a great idea. But if my name's on it, it makes it an extra level for me to say like, yeah, I've approved this. I'm under oath saying, yeah, I reviewed that. Is all.
All right, it'll take me a little bit of time to get it all together, but we can absolutely put it all together. The data files are going to be too large for us to copy onto emails, so it'll end up being a cloud link, and you guys will be able to access it that way and go through it and to what you guys feel is sufficient enough detail. If you have questions, just let me know. That's what I'm here for.
I'm not going to hold the board back if somebody wants to make motion. Otherwise, certainly we could vote on it. I don't mean to speak for everyone. Thank you all for entertaining my questions. Sorry.
Any other questions for Steve? I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, this is a public hearing, so you need to open public hearing and then close it.
Thank you.
No one signed up. No one's here.
Anybody want to speak for or against the, okay, as none.
Come on, Tim, I know you got stuff to say.
Just lobbing things from the back of the room.
Okay, since there's nobody ready to speak, close it, and entertain a motion now.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to table to the April 3rd meeting, at which time we could plan on.
I've got a
Voting
motion to
on this.
table this. Do you have a second?
Can we clarify that we're gonna receive ahead of that meeting
Absolutely.
Yeah.
the talked about comparison?
Yes, you guys will receive by Friday of next week.
If we don't give you what you want, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna do it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so the motion is just to table it for now.
yeah, and with the understanding that staff will provide you with additional comparative information for review for local exceptions. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
It was beautifully worded, just put.
And that way, that will give you guys an opportunity to read through it to what you feel is sufficient for your own peace of mind. And like I said, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll put in details and reasonings as to why I do or do not recommend the adoption along with that document. So you guys will also have that data. It'll give you the basic background of that section of code and my reasoning.
Okay.
Okay. So motion to table to our April 3rd meeting with the understanding that additional provisional information be provided by staff.
As stated by the building official.
As stated by the building official.
Thanks.
Second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, tabled till April 3rd.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, before we leave, I neglected in the hearing to admit both of the stacks of slides that were presented in support of the staff's presentation with regard to the show cause hearing and the order that you signed earlier. And I would ask that you entertain a motion in a second and vote to admit all of those slides in the records of the Building and Standards Commission.
Thank you. I need a motion. So moved? Except from somebody?
Second.
Moved and seconded as stated by the city attorney. I've got you.
Second, yeah.
Okay.
All in favor? Okay.
That concluding the business, you may do as you wish.
All right. Business is over, and there's no more, so if there's no more other business, we're adjourned.